I tell y'all what's on my mind.
What's up? It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son, it's your kinfolk, William Jewell. Well, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating. Right. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and turn all the notifications on so you can get all the new content when I post them. I just came here to articulate and give you my detailed perspective from hip-hop, close up and far away, a telescopic and microscopic view. Alright, because a lot of things need to be broken down, and sometimes I don't have the time to really just go in like I should go in, but when I try to go there, I try to give you both vantage points. And there's been some new music come out, right? There's been some new music come out. And, you know, I was listening to The Bigger Picture with Elliott Wilson, DJ Head, and Jeremy Hecht. And they was talking about how there is no real hit song that has been out since Not Like Us. There's not been a real hit song. Right? We think about Drake, Nokia. We think about other songs, Jello, Tweaker. We think about other songs, but really, like, to be honest, I hear Nokia, but I'm not hearing Nokia like it was kind of pushed when it first kind of like took off. Tweaker, I feel like that did come and go. And then Jello was trying to catch another one, trying to use that same type of sound. And I don't think it did as well as he intended it for it to do. And then, you know, the girls got their bops, right? Whim Whammy by Pluto featuring Sexy Red. Like, that was just talking about these songs, and, you know, I kind of got to agree with it. When we think about Not Like Us, we think about Squabble Up, we think about Luther and TV Off, and then they talk about the Dot era. This is Kendrick's era to be the top guy, to be, you know, at the forefront of hip-hop. And I feel like nobody's been able to do it quite like him, because the artists that are like him, like the JIDs of the world, the Wale's of the world, the Coles of the world, the more conscious but also great with songwriting, those type of artists haven't really stepped up to the plate and swung their bat. Because I feel like Kendrick Lamar has set the table for the real MCs, the real lyricists, to be pushed towards the forefront and do what they can with their magic, do what they can with their songwriting. Right? And I just saw a tweet from Hitter J3, and he was saying, like, Dot's looking out for us even when we don't think he's even thinking about us. He's always looking out. Right? And he seems to be omnipresent. He seems to be omnipresent. Because, I mean, Kendrick, like, he just has a touch on culture. He has a stranglehold on culture. Right? And we think about the Good Credit. We think about the Mojo Jojo. We think about Outside, the songs he did with Playboy Cardi. We think about those songs and how much they stuck, and or how much they really didn't stick. They did hit the Billboard Top 100 and they didn't stay long. But I think just his imprint made people really want to listen to Cardi. I think just his presence on that album made people that weren't really fans of Playboy Cardi go to that album. And I think his imprint and his influence and his impact on the Chains and Whips, right? Song with Pusha T and Malice, the song with Clips, Pharrell on the production, right? I think he will have an impact on that album as well, and he's going to drive sales. And once he gets people to that album, right, that album is going to go out of here. I think it's going to actually give Pusha T and Malice even higher platform. They're going to be elevated to an even different pedestal, because like a Kendrick Lamar feature is similar to back in the day when people got a Drake feature. And to have this on the album, like, this could really be a big thing for the Clips. And when you think about nostalgia, when Kendrick got on the song with Pusha T, although it might not be like a Billboard Hot 100 song, it's still a culturally dense song, a notable song, something that when we think about Pusha T's catalog, like we put a check mark by it. And just that leaked verse from Chains and Whips and Jeremy Hecht, oh my God. You know, he dives a little bit deep, and I gotta give him credit. I gotta give him credit because I wasn't thinking like that. Like, I really just wanted to hear the verse when the verse was ready to be heard. Like Charlemagne was saying on Breakfast Club, like, you kind of take the oomph, the breath out of that song when you release it, you know, as a leak, versus when people can first hear that song, how the artist intended them to hear that song with clear, crisp audio vocals. But at the same time, it's still kind of building the anticipation. It's still kind of creating that avalanche for the rollout of Let God Sort 'Em Out. So I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, right? But I see people knowing what to expect, right? And I wonder, do the Clips have any more tricks up their sleeves, any more things they want to do before they release the album? Because after this Friday, it's going to be a week away, so it's less than 2 weeks away. I'm recording on a Monday. So just in case I say something that somebody might say later on, I'm letting you know this is June 30th. I'm recording on a Monday. Right, I was out of town this past weekend for my mother-in-law. Happy birthday, Vicky Donahue. And then, you know, I'm working. I'm doing everything I can to continue to build my family finances and build the legacy and just kind of build for us going forward. So whatever it takes, I'm doing it. But, you know, this is my safe place. This is my escape. And I wouldn't even say escape. This is just my cathedral. Right? This is just my, you know, my therapy and a place where I like to get my thoughts off and I can be creative. But when we talk about that Kendrick Lamar verse, and I don't even want to just read it out or read it word for word, but just that gin rhyme scheme that he kept on flipping, like, it tells you he never lost the ability to do that. And when he got on the Clips song, he showcased his lyrical prowess. And the fact that Jeremy Hecht, right, let me get back to the whole thought I was trying to say. Jeremy Hecht really dove in deep onto that verse, and he suggested that Kendrick Lamar was rapping that verse as if it was from a Donald Trump perspective, because the word Trump card was left off that verse. The Trump card is what Universal Music Group, UMG, was scared for to be released. That's the reason why they said they didn't want to release the album, because of that verse, of that part of the song. And if Kendrick would have changed that part of the song, if he would have censored himself, then maybe something would have happened a little bit differently. But things didn't happen a little bit differently. Right? And Malice made a good point when we're talking about censorship of hip hop. Like, this is the really only medium that we got left in the forefront of the culture that gives us a way to express ourselves, gives us a way to release our thoughts and release our creativeness or just our ideas and different concept. Hip hop is the only medium left, and they're trying to censor it. Right? The cancel culture is not enough. You already got people biting their tongue. Kendrick already said this in Mr. Morale. He's not gonna not say what he wants to say. But, I mean, the verse was definitely magnificent. The verse was something to behold, and when it came out, I didn't believe that it was going to be released. I didn't believe that it was being leaked. Just hearing the Kendrick verse got me on the edge of my seat. Just hearing the Kendrick verse got me so excited. But I just wish it didn't come out that way. Not that way. No, not that way. But we carry on. While we carry on, speaking of Pharrell, right? He produced a song with Rick Ross called For the Money. A lot of people think Rick Ross is trying to ride the Pharrell wave. And maybe Pharrell, knowing his wave is getting a little bit hotter, want to put some more music out because obviously he was in the music video, and the fact that he was in the music video means that he greenlit this song and means that he wants to be recognized as a part of this song. And a couple of other minds believe that Pharrell gave Rick Ross this idea, and Pharrell being a genius, Rick Ross is listening to the geniusness of Pharrell and wanting to make a song like For the Money. And it gives you that island vibe, but then it goes to hip hop. It gives you a little mix of both. And some people saying it's not what that is. I think it's a cool record. I think it's something out the box for Rick Ross. I think it's out of the wheelhouse of his executive production or producer nature. Like his ear for beats, I think it's out of his wheelhouse. But I think when, you got a legendary producer like Pharrell in the midst and you got something like that, I think you take advantage of the moment regardless and see where it goes and see what people think about it. So I'm not mad at For the Money. He's from Miami. It gives you that dance hall type of feel to it, but it also gives you some hip hop. So I'm not mad at For the Money. I mean, to be honest, I'm not mad at any of these singles, but I'm more so disappointed in Cardi B's redundancy. Outside Cardi B. Enough is up and it's stuck. Enough is enough. WAP. Like all these same type of songs. She's using the same formula. She's using the same formula to curate the same type of song. And will it do well? Will it make some noise on the Billboard charts? Will it make some noise up on the hip hop culture? Yes, it will. But you were dissing your ex-husband. You were talking about Offset. I didn't like that. I despise that. Actually, you were taking advantage of his bewildered nature. You were taking advantage of his insecurities. You were taking advantage of a man that's hurt, that's been downtrodden, that lost the very thing that he loved. And not only are you flaunting Stephon Diggs in his face, you're making a diss song about Offset. Dark-skinned brother. Like me, dreads. Or some people would like to say locks because there's nothing dreadful about them. But you did him a little bit dirty publicly. And I think it's nasty. But Offset, he did it wrong. Offset, he did all this cheating. He did all this stuff. But we don't know what Cardi B did behind closed doors. He already revealed that she messed around with another dude, and he revealed that she messed around with a dude while she was pregnant by him. And if we take that into account, knowing that a woman that's pregnant will let another man have intercourse with her while the baby head is sitting within her vagina's reach, then what else would she have done before that? And this is not to throw dirt or throw mud on Cardi B's name, but this is to harken back to the record outside and the same formula that she's been using, and the redundancy and the monotonous. I mean, at least Nicki gonna give us something different. And Meg, she tries. She tries, glow, sexy. But this formula, to me, it's not going underneath my radar. I'm detecting it. And she has an album coming out, Am I the Drama? And I don't know, I'm just not sold on Cardi B. I'm just not a fan of Cardi B. I just don't like her brand. I don't like how she, you know what I'm saying, presents herself. But one thing I do like, to be honest, and this may be hypocritical because everything I just said, I do like her and Stephon Diggs together. I think they do make a good couple, and I think he brings the feminine side out of her. Like, you can see her feminine nature when she's on internet and she's talking down on Offset and she's doing all these things. She seems to be a little bit more masculine, but when she's around Stephon Diggs, I think she really taps into the feminine nature and he brings that out. And I don't think it has anything to do with money or anything like that. I think it's just because of his aura, his presence, how he carries himself, his confidence, and just being that guy always. Since he was a youngin', you know, when you play ball, like women, that's nothing new. Girls liking you, that's nothing new. People admiring you, people seeing you as an inspiration, that's nothing new. And, you know, Offset coming from the bottom, probably, you know, not having that type of experience as a youngin', as a young adult, and even as a grown man, you know, being considered maybe a third wheel of the Migos, or maybe not the best rapper of the Migos, right? He might have had some insecurities that have been preyed upon. But one thing that hasn't been preyed upon, one thing that has been prayed for, is his ability to make good music. And he did just that with J.I.D. Bodies. I don't even think I talked about this song. There was a lot of drama going on. I don't think I even visited this song with y'all. Bodies on the floor. Hit them bodies on the floor. Drowning Pool. Shout out Daniel Spate. Always putting me on different rock bands. And of course, growing up in the early to late 90s, early 2000s, you know, I've heard that song. But like just the flow and the way J.I.D. was stepped in and really was omnipresent on that song. And just not even J.I.D., Offset, because Offset had the first two verses. Like, you had to get through Offset before you got to the final boss, right? And I think Offset carried his own. Like, he showed that he can rap with J.I.D. He showed that J.I.D., although his verse was the showstopper, Offset showcased his ability to be a part of the show and be an act that people would be remembered, a memorable act. Alright, now like the remarks. Hey, like J.I.D., like, he's different. And this is what I've always wanted for J.I.D. This is all we've been talking about, all the true hip-hop heads. Because when we talk about Drake, Kendrick, Cole, and how they've led the way for the past 15 years, it's because they've been able to do that with hit songs and staying power. Right? They've been able to produce these hits, and when we talk about JID, we talk about surround sound. We talk about maybe a feature he did with Imagine Dragons, but he doesn't really have the catalog as far as singles, as far as hit songs. And for him to be considered the next guy in line, he has to be able to produce. And in this culture and in this climate, when everything is microwavable, it's hard to produce these hit songs, which harkens back to my first thought when I started this podcast, or when I started this show today. Where are the hit songs? And will this Body's song be a hit song? Will this Outside song be a hit song? But if you're a fan of JID, you want nothing more but for JID to bask in the glory. His lyricism, his capability, his flow, his ability to use his voice like an instrument to go light, then to give you those punchlines and just kind of weave in and out of the pockets of the beat and give you different flows. It's unprecedented. Right? And damn, it's just so much music that I really want to speak on. I spoke on Nick Grant maybe a couple years ago. Sunday Dinner, that album. But when we talk about Nick Grant, I took it personal. Just a quick album review. I like Nick Grant. He's very capable artist with good lyrical ability. He showcases his ability to be a songwriter, his ability to make songs for the ladies, his ability to rap for the guys and show that he has bars. But when I think about the production of this album and when I compare it to the last project, I think it's kind of missing a little bit production wise. I think the concept of this album, I took it personal when he finally, goes to the last track. It's not personal. It's like he's navigating through that music industry. He took it personal when they said he couldn't make these type of songs, when he couldn't rap about women, when he couldn't be somebody that the culture could look at as up and coming or trailblazing. And as he goes through the journey and the songs, it's not personal because he knows who he is deep within. So I like the concept of the album. I like the curation, the structure of the album, just the production to me. And, when we talk about the lyricism, I feel like he showcases lyricism, but just something from that last album, like it's missing an ingredient. Maybe a little bit less soulful than that last album, maybe a little less personal than that last album. But it's a good album. It's definitely something that, you should listen to, something that's worth your ear. But it doesn't push the needle, right? But it is something that's enjoyable. Okay? And then we talking about the T-Pain dissing Drake, because everybody, has had their say about T-Pain dissing Drake, and he was like, Drake did not take his own advice. He didn't exit out the music industry gracefully. When some sexy songs for you didn't work, he's trying to double back and say, well, let me give you Iceman. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say that verbatim, but I'm kind of summarizing, the quotes a little bit. And Drake basically said, this guy has always had resentment for me. You can tell how he says my name. And I mean, how many ops do you got? Like, how many people in this industry really dislike you? And it's not about, and maybe it is about some people being jealous, some people being envious, some people wishing that you would have gave him a feature and you didn't give him a feature. Maybe you didn't keep your word with some people. Maybe you got too busy. Maybe you just felt away. Maybe you was just talking, running your mouth, and it wasn't true, genuine love. And people believed you, and when you didn't follow through with, you know, your promises, or when you made some broken promises to people, they felt the type of way. You know, because when we talk about a tweet that T-Pain had said back in the day, he was ready to release an album. He was just waiting on a feature from Drake. So, I mean, we got to think about all these things that add up over the years. How you act, how you treat people. And it just kind of goes back to that same thing. You know, are you a good person? Do you have integrity, morals, character? And, you know, time and time again, we look back at Drake and we see that some people has become a little bit more than some, has become a lot more people that aren't in agreement with how he has maneuvered in the industry throughout the years. Some people who have been the benefactors of his movement, of course, like Offset, have come to his aid. But you can tell this guy resents me. He's always resented me. Just look at how he says my name. Like, he's commenting as if he's playing the victim already. And Chris Brown wanted to give T-Pain his flowers, said he's a GOAT. Just a random thought. I feel like that's another jab towards Drake's direction. And we know Chris Brown was dancing to Not Like Us. And it's just one of those things where it is what it is. It's just industry stuff. So I think that's just something that kind of raised my eyebrows. Like, I mean, at this point, the Kendrick Drake debate is a great topic of conversation, a great headline, a great way to go viral, because just the fact that T-Pain is who T-Pain is, and he said something about Drake and it picked up this type of coverage, means that, you know, whoever, Kendrick or Drake, whoever one you want to talk about when it comes to the aftermath of this battle, is still a hot topic, and people can't leave it alone. And speaking of hot topic, or speaking of Drake, BBL Drizzy seems like he's got another job done. Seems like he's been etched in history. Seems like he's been sculpted like a Greek god. He just released a picture with no back muscles, no arm muscles, no shoulder caps, but a six-pack. And if you look at his chest, it looks like he has some lines right underneath his chest from some liposuction. BBL Drizzy. BBL Drizzy. So look, I'm a personal trainer. I live by fitness. I live by health. I live by taking care of your body. I live by eating right. I try to be an example. Although I have my Michelob Ultras, which is a light beer, which people clown me over, right? That's my only cheat. That's my only, you know what I'm saying, thing that I indulge in. I might puff a little greenery here and there if someone offers me and I'm in the mood to partake. But at the end of the day, I don't go crazy. I don't indulge in too much of these type of things. So like when I see like pictures, when I see images of men like Drake, like French Montana, like Big Sean, getting underneath that needle to, do whatever they need to do to feel secure with their body and their appearance and how they look, and try to be somewhat sexy, somewhat of a sex symbol, right? To me, it turns my stomach. To me, it upsets me. It disappoints me. Because we got so many examples on TikTok. We got so many great examples on Instagram, on Facebook. We got so many great examples on the culture of how to, conduct your life in a healthy manner, in a disciplined manner. Right? Before I did this podcast, before I was talking about hip hop and music, I would get on here and talk about fitness. Just a different background. I was giving y'all fitness content. I was giving y'all fitness information before I even started talking about rapping, before I even started talking about hip hop. And this gives me the opportunity to go back to that lane, just to visit it, to revisit it, because the portrayal of a man's image, the portrayal of lack thereof, a lack of masculinity, right? You got to get it out the mud. You can't let this be given to you. Because when it's given to you, you don't appreciate it. That's why people keep getting back underneath the knife. They never learned the discipline. They never learned the habits. They didn't learn the consistency. They was never dialed in truly and fully. 13 years. I fed my family. 13 years. I'm in this house. I got this equipment. Like, no, for real, I made a living. I'm still making a living off of this. And we got these examples. These poor examples of real men. And the thing that's crazy is because Drake, when it comes to music, he has a work ethic like no one else. But that's the flip side of things. That's the flip side. Because he's been consumed by music, by this industry. He hasn't worked out the demons. He hasn't worked out the kinks in his armor. He hasn't worked through his insecurities. He hasn't put it all on the line. He hasn't poured his soul out into it, into fitness, to where he can get to a higher level, to where he can reach the astral plane, to where he can reach some type of enlightenment, because enlightenment happens when you destroy yourself, when you put yourself through challenge, when you put yourself through torture, when you put yourself through some real dog days, and you still persevere, and you still transform, and you still are able to see the results from the fruits of your labor. Something happens when you're aligned physically. Something happens with your spirit when you are aligned physically. Something happens with your mental when you are aligned physically. And these guys keep missing the point. And when they're acting a certain way, when they're doing things that are unmanly, when they're moving in a way that's not, just not, it's so many crazy words. I try to talk deep. I try to be very, smart or intelligent sounding. But when they move in a way that's not unbecoming of what manhood should reflect, then that's what's reflected. So, Drake. Bro, you gotta do this the real way. You gotta do this the real way. You can't keep taking the shortcuts. You gotta do this the real way, and let's see how you will be transformed, and let's see how you will be changed from the inside out when you do this the real way. Right? Big Sean, on your last album, you talked about the spirituality. You talked about being enlightened. You talked about being in peace. But how could you be in peace when you laid on the table to get your abs done? You was not at peace. You were insecure, and it shows. Right? And it shows. French Montana, I don't even think I need to speak on him. I don't. Although French Montana is a public figure, it's somebody that's popular in the culture, but his impact for me, I don't feel it, so I don't think he needs to really be spoken about. But when we see Kendrick going on these runs, when we see Kendrick, hear him saying he doing 6 miles a day to get his wind straight, when you see him pushing up, pulling up, you know, and the consistency that he moves with, and how he's aligned, how one is going to the doctor, the surgeon, and one is actually doing the work. I feel like it's just a reflection on what, you know, doing the work gets you and what trying to cheat the work gets you. Right? So you can't cheat the grind. You can't cheat the hustle. It's always going to catch up with you. But it's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son that you can't fuck. William Jewell. Well, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating. Rap, rap, rap.